Welcome to those who come to hear my tales. Tonight is the first story of a new year, new adventure, and trying new things. That is what the couple in tonight's tale is doing, although they are about to get more than they ever expected. If you enjoy my tales, I ask you this simple favor. Like, subscribe, click the bell, and check out my other videos. It does help the channel grow, prosper, and continue. Thank you. Now let us begin. Cavern of the Soulless. Me and my girlfriend, Lily, have been together for 5 years now. We wanted to go and explore more of the world together, as we both craved adventure. When the new year began, we decided to take a quiet trip into the woods to escape the worry bills and just get off the grid for a few days. We lived near a thick forest, and my truck was loaded with camping supplies. At a lone gas station, we stopped for fuel and snacks. The man at the counter warned us to stay away from the Cavern of the Soulless. It was a mile deep into the woods, and not a safe place to be. Stories about campers disappearing there was too common. When you're in the woods and you hear nothing but silence, turn back the way you came. The man was odd. It was as if his skin was too loose. And his eyes had a bizarre look to them. I couldn't place my finger on it, but he gave us both a weird vibe. We drove away, but neither of us could forget the strange man. With the windows down and radio off, we enjoyed the peace of the woods. It was a big change from the city we both grew up in. Trees loomed down at us as the woods and road stretched on what seemed like miles. But a few moments later, we found the clearing our friend had mentioned. We pulled from the road and drove into the area. It was a nice place to set up camp, about 2 miles into the woods. There was a slight breeze as I set the tent. Lily found the small burner used for cooking. A small propane tank was hooked up to it, and we enjoyed hot dogs in the woods. Crickets, insects, and frogs sang an orchestra to us. After we ate, It was time to clean up and crawl in our tent for a restful night's sleep. The next day was bright and sunny. We left the camp and went for a walk into the forest. A compass, bear spray, and flashlight was in my pack. Lily also had a headlamp among hers. Deer ran from our approach. Their white tails bounced into the tree line. An occasional squirrel and rabbit was heard in the leaves and grass near us. We were enjoying the peacefulness and beauty of the forest until we realized the hour was getting late. We turned to walk back toward the camp when we heard the noise. It never occurred to us that we were being followed. But soon we found out how wrong we were. A howl echoed through the silent forest. It seemed unnatural, and the hairs on my arm began to rise. The sound was to the east, but the compass had us heading southwest. That howl was joined by another, and then another. The howls were not what you heard in movies. No, these were far worse. They were loud and creepy, sending shivers up our spines. I don't know if it was the dogs, wolves, or coyotes, but it sounded like something unnatural to me. We turned and ran, knowing it was at least 2 miles back to camp. The howls seemed to get weaker as the distance became farther. It was then that we noticed the trees, or more specifically, the web. Dusk was close now, as the sun began to set. Webs covered tree branches, home to countless spiders. Being out in the darkness was not a good idea. We had to find shelter before those creatures found us. Those creepy trees became even more sinister at night. I could almost see spiders and their shadows crawling across the branches. It was as if they were waiting for us to get too close and make a meal out of our bodies. We found a cave close by, shelter for the cool night. Inside the cave was just as scary. Many webs clung to the walls, as if it was a giant spider web. We heard humming coming from the back of the cavern. letting us know we were not alone. Maybe it was another camper. Hesitant, though, we decided to check it out. Lily grabbed my arm, showing she did not like this idea. The humming grew louder, and I began to doubt myself. A campfire lit the cavern with a figure beside it. Its back was facing us, hiding their face. Not only were there more webs, but a hard smell came from the dark corners. It smelled foul, like decay and rotten meat. The figure stood before I spoke. Taller than me, but just as thin. It turned slowly into the light, and we gasped at what we saw. His head was human, but had too many eyes. 2 sets, making up 4 eyes, looked at us. Thin and hairy arms appeared. 6 of them. A large pincher was his mouth, dripping with drool, or perhaps venom. The mouth clamped shut, and it dropped to the floor. On 8 limbs, it ran toward us. We turned and ran for the entrance. We left the cavern, and I could hear it scream. The trees were infested with spiders as they climbed down their webs. Lily screamed, causing us to run faster and more reckless. Noises behind us told us not to slow down. We quickly covered the 2 miles back to camp. We looked toward the edge of camp, and the spider demon stood there. It was only a few yards from us, saliva dripping from its mouth. It paused, lifted its head, and then returned the way it came. We were surprised, but not for long. Those howls returned, and they were closer than before. Two creatures came from the tree line. They resembled dogs, but larger and red glowing eyes. Their teeth dripped with blood, and smoke rose from their nose. I knew the truck was close by. keys already in my hand. We slowly backed toward the vehicle as the creatures growled low and very menacing. They stalked us as if we were prey. I managed to open the door, and we just got inside when one hit the closing door. The impact rocked my truck as the second one hit the other door. One was seen biting my tire in the mirror. Those sharp fangs bared. I started the truck, threw it in drive, and peeled away, kicking dirt and rocks as we left. Our tent and all our stuff we abandoned that night. But then Lily pointed out something I forgot. There was 3 howls. Where's the other one? Something large hit my truck. I had to swerve to keep from going off-road. In my mirror, I saw this massive dog, larger than the other 2. Drool coming from its mouth as it ran fast to keep up to me. I slammed the gas pedal and watched as a gigantic beast got further behind us. My tires squealed as we hit pavement, and I kept the truck floored all the way home. We never came back for that stuff that we left. And it had been a couple years since that night. My wife still has nightmares. She says she can hear the howls as she lay to sleep at night. I'm not sure what we're in those woods. But we'll never forget the night we found the Cavern of the Souls. If you enjoy this video, please check out my other ones. Like, subscribe, and I welcome all comments. And always remember, be aware of the Shadowlands.